Welcome to Garage Geeks. So it's Friday night chats, and those kids wore me out. Now, first off, in my classroom, the AC broke, and they brought in a little. The admin brought in a little space cooler, but it doesn't do much. I mean, it helps, but it's just so hot in my classroom. And my last class of the day is my rowdiest. And it's just so much energy trying to get them to stay on task and not hit each other. they're all like, it's like they have so much energy and they're all just like blah 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 blah, blah. Oh my gosh. So I got to get used to that because I'm used to teaching 8th graders, and 7th graders really do have a lot more energy. Okay, Angel, thank you. Go ahead and lay down. Thank you for the loving. So I just have to get used to that, right? But I'm enjoying them. They're a lot of fun. A girl, of course, is always having to like, Mister, you're old. And I'm like, okay, that's true. You're right. I'm also fat and ugly, but you know what? That's not something you have to announce to the class. Oh my God, these kids are brutal. They just say whatever they're thinking. Okay. And also, I noticed this week, like, I can't even close my pants. Over the summer, I gained weight. It's almost like I went up a belt size. So I was 33, 34, but I think I'm pushing 35, 36. So I'm like, oh no, I've got to start doing some exercise. And it's not like I don't walk. It's not that. But I think as I'm getting older, it's just you have to do more to maintain. And I'm just like, ugh, I don't want to start doing all those exercises. I'm lazy. But I don't want to go out and buy all new pants. Okay, enough of all my woes, my troubles. All right. I'm gonna start with the music I listen to. So I already showed a vinyl haul, and I've been listening to mostly a lot all of those records. But CD wise, I continued to listen to this one. I'm warming up to it. I like it. And I listened to David Gray, and he's someone I've seen in concert, and I really like it. And I listened to this beat up copy of Pink Martini. I if you don't know Pink Martini, you're missing out. I really like what they do. This is a great album. I love how the lead singer does many different languages, and one of them, it's not just European. She also usually does at least one Japanese song. When the Japanese songs come, they're kind of like so different from the others. These albums are such a delight to listen to. I really like Pink Martini, and it's a shame that I never got to see them in concert. I listened to another one in my series of 60 most requested songs, and just like all the other, this one is really good. So fun. I would recommend it. I prefer The Doors Stay, but that's not saying this is bad. This is really, really good. So I enjoyed that. And last week or the week before, I watched Green Book, and I was lucky to find a Don Shirley album, but I went ahead and I ordered this 2 CD set. Now, the funniest thing, right? It was supposedly sent to me, and it's like new. And I get it, and it's like, I don't know if you can tell, but this little panel right here is broken off. I mean, does that matter? No, but it's just weird, right? They send it to you, and it wasn't inside. It was packaged really well. It didn't come smashed or anything. It wasn't inside the packaging. It was just gone, and I was like, it's not that big of a deal. The CD is one of the CDs is in my player right now. But yeah, when you open it up, this whole thing comes out because it's missing this top part. Not a big deal. I'm not gonna complain. Hey, this is not like new. Blah 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 blah. Whatever. It's just, it's weird. I'm starting to kind of collect these things with the 2 albums or the 4 albums, and it would have been nice because since I'm collecting them, I have them in that. But I'll probably just break down and put them in these eventually. So that's what I listened to or have been listening to. Oh, and by the way, I started listening to the first one, right? I haven't listened to this one yet. Wow, it's so good. I'm like enamored. This stuff is so nice. When I'm reading, or I've confessed, I do crossword puzzles. When I'm doing those, this is so nice to listen to. I highly recommend Don Shirley. So the two or three that I've already heard, I really really like, and of course I'm going to continue with this one. I'm going to see if I can get a couple more of his on. I think he has one more of these with a double CD like this, so I'm going to try to get that. Now the rest of this video is going to be in two parts. I'm going to go over 9 movies that I saw, so I'm going to try to be quick. I'm not going to try to like go crazy. But one of the movies I have a rant, and one of them it's a race rant. I don't know how well that's going to go over. I'm going to go on a race rant. And then more like just observations. And then I'm going to talk about, sorry, I had to lean way over. Oh, look at my hair sticking all up. I need a haircut bad. I'm going to briefly talk about some comics that I've been reading, and I read all of these this week. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with... Oh, I'm going to get a sip of my coffee. It's way over there. Uh-oh. What's that? Looked weird. Okay. All right. So I'm going to... If you've seen my shorts this week... That's so weird when I say that. If you've seen my shorts, then you know about half of the movies that I saw. But something really weird happened. Like my initial shorts, I was getting 1,000 to 2,000 views, and then the last 4 or 5, they all dropped down to 100, and it was weird. It's not that big of a deal. I actually like these shorts, and I'm going to keep putting them off because it's easy. So I finally found a short that I enjoy making that's easy. I'm watching a movie, I see an interesting part, I rewind it, I film it, and then I just splice it together. It's so fast. I don't have to like narrate or research or anything like that, which is what I was doing before. So I'm just kind of digging it because it's so easy. I think one of the reasons why my shorts went down is I was getting a lot of dislikes. So I would get like 3 to 1 dislikes, and then I was getting 1 to 1, and then a video I had like 3 or 4 ago, there were more dislikes than likes. And maybe that threw me off of the algorithm. Who's to say? I don't know how it works. So I don't think they're worthy of being disliked. They're just scenes from movies. Who doesn't like seeing scenes from movies? I guess a lot of people, because they're disliking my videos. Jerks. I know. Well, they don't want to see it. Maybe it's boring for them. They want to see someone, injuring themselves. Okay, I'm looking for my list of movies. Where did I put it? All right. We're going to start with, I think they're out of order, but we're going to start with The Pope's Exorcist. Okay, so this obviously stars Russell Crowe, and I'm going to say that, there you go, Russell Crowe. I think Russell Crowe is cute, and the older he gets, I think he gets more and more handsome. Now, this movie was bad, but I like watching Russell Crowe, so I enjoyed it. And he has this Italian accent that he tries to keep up through the whole movie. He does a good job, but because I know his voice originally, the accent kind of like grates on me because I know that's not what he sounds like, but that's no fault of his. It's just because I've seen him in so many movies. I'm going to say that if you like this kind of movie, it's a fun kind of popcorn movie where you just sit there and you kind of like, you don't have to think, you just veg. There's nothing new. It's, mostly about Russell. But I would say as a movie overall, this is a D. It's quite a stinker, but it's not horrible, if I can say that. It's a fun popcorn movie. There you go. It adds nothing new to the genre. In fact, there's so many cliches in this movie. Flickering lights. I mean, didn't that go away like 50 years ago after the 60s or 70s? Yeah, like flickering lights. I mean, come on. Okay, the next one I'm going to talk about is Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. This movie is fun. This movie is actually really good. So this takes everything that was wrong with the original Transformers, and the original Transformers movies are really good, but they're excessive. And what would happen to me is I would get eye fatigue in those movies because you would have 20-minute scenes of all CGI. And that happened to me in, I remember this happening to me in Aquaman. Like the whole last 30 minutes is like this giant CGI battle. And for some reason, I don't think my particular eyes like that. So they keep the CGI scenes down to a minimal. They have good interactions with the humans. The human characters are interesting. It's shorter than most Transformers movies, so it clocks in at about 2 hours and 5 minutes. So with the 15 minutes of credits, I mean, you're under 2 hours. I'm gonna say that this is worth watching. However, this is the movie that I'm gonna have the race rant about. I'm gonna save that till I'm done with my movies. I'm gonna come back to the race rant. Okay. A movie that I did a short on was, oh well, they're all mixed up. So you know what? Let's keep it with the modern movies. I watched The Beanie Bubble, which is on Apple TV. Now this has 4 great stars in it. They all do a great job. It's about the relationships of these 3 women with this man who is the founder of Beanie Babies, right? But he's got a lot of help and support from these women, and he does his best to marginalize them. Like he's very charismatic, but in the end, he becomes manipulative of the women in his life. And I'm going to say that I thought this was an interesting movie. It was a fun movie to watch. It's definitely not like one of the best movies of the year. I think that Zach. I mean, look at that. I mean, who wouldn't want to see a movie with that scene in it? Um, Zach Galifianakis. He did a really, really good job. And by the way, I just want to say that I'm a huge fan of True Calling, and I thought Zach Galifianakis was so good in True Calling, and he hates that role. He hates that show, and that always makes me sad because I always thought he was so good, and I think that's where I first found out about Zach, and I thought he looked so handsome in that show, like so handsome. Oh well, but he hates it. Great show, in my opinion. Okay, watched the 4th Mission Impossible, which is Ghost Protocol. It was, again, I'd seen it before. Very nice. Great team that he's working with. Unfortunately, I don't know this woman's name, but she was so good in this movie. Not only did she look good, but she was good in the role. And then, you have the 3 leads. That one's Simon Pegg. And this one is, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name. Very famous, right? He's Hawkeye, and he's, he's been in so many movies, right? He was very good in it too. And of course, you have Tom Cruise. One of the iconic scenes in this movie, the iconic scene is where he's got to go on the outside of the building, which is, I think, the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world. And he's got to scale. They got to go from 1 floor, and they got to go up seven floors and over 3 windows. And so he's got to climb on the outside of the building with these gloves, which are, they're kind of, I don't know, not magnetic, but they stick. And then he starts having problems as he's going. It's like really an intense scene. It's very, very well done. And I'm trying to think of any other iconic scenes in that movie. It's a fun movie. Now I'm not gonna. I actually think the villain in the one before this, who was Philip Seymour Hoffman, was like it's almost difficult to beat him. He was so good as a villain. So the villain in this movie isn't as good, but this is a very nice movie. It also has a scene with Jack Sawyer, right, from Lost. I'm That's not his real name in life, but his name on the show is that Jack. So no, was his name Jack? His last name was Sawyer, right? So he has a part in this movie. I'm a huge fan of Lost. I love Lost. If you're a person out there that didn't like the last couple seasons of Lost, boo to you. I love that show. All right. Um, my husband and I were just like we were getting ready to watch a show, and we saw an ad for this War of the Worlds: The Attack, and my husband was like, "Oh, let's just watch it." Ooh, it's so bad. This is a stinker. Now, this is like watching a BBC television show from the 70s. I mean, it has that look and that feel. Um, I mean, it's if you know that and you want to watch it, you'll have a fine time with this movie. I'm not going to say like it's, so bad. Like, no, it's not horrible, but there's so many better things to watch than this. So I don't know if I can really recommend it to you. The best thing about the movie is they had lines from the book, which I really liked. But other than that, and the ending was kind of bad. Okay, I'm gonna go back. Here we have Dario Argenta's Dracula. Now, this is truly a stinker. Now, this one is from 2013, and all of a sudden, near the end, Rutger Hauer shows up. It was filmed by Dario Argenta, and I want to just show this. This was like one of the coolest scenes in the movie. Wait, that's not that movie. Wrong movie. I'll show that later. So in Dario Argenta's Dracula, he actually... Uh-oh, I'm missing some of my pictures that I should have sent over. Oops. I can't get them now. They're on my phone. Maybe I didn't take any more. So the director actually directs his daughter in one of the roles, and the daughter has to take off her shirt and do. I'm like, that's weird. Like, to direct your own daughter like doing a nude scene. I just thought that was kind of icky. I didn't like that, actually. And she was awful. She was so bad. Her acting was so bad, like screamingly bad. And my friend who lives in... why do I have to say this all the time? My friend who lives in... I don't need to say that. My friend, she said that she's seen her in other movies and that she gets better as an actress. So I hope so, because she was so bad in this movie. But almost everyone was. The scenes are laughingly hysterical. Okay, that's... what do you say? That's just like a oxymoron. No, not an oxymoron. I repeated myself. I'm tired. I can't even think of the words. So they're just like, they're bad. And Dracula becomes all kinds of weird creatures. Like, he becomes like this really bad green screened praying mantis at one point. It's pretty funny. If you want to laugh while you're watching a movie, you should watch that Dario Argenta's Dracula, or it's called Dracula 3D, and it was made in 2013. So I just knew I had to watch that because I wanted to make some funny shorts. I also watched this movie called Die, Monster Die, that starred Boris Karloff. Now, this movie has the worst title. It doesn't fit the movie at all. Okay, so it's based on a H.P. Lovecraft story called The Color Out of Space, and it's about this rock, a meteor, that starts affecting plants and animals and making humans go crazy. And then these people, they start trying to cultivate it and use it on people. There's no one monster in this. The whole thing, like the name doesn't make sense. However, I'm going to show you it actually is nice in some points. I mean, it is a movie from the 60s. So look at this. This was a backdrop. You can tell like this is like a painting and the character walks here. But I thought that was a really pretty shot. So I took a picture of it. Now again, I wrote down the years, so I'm gonna tell you what year that was made. Die Monster Die was 1965. It's definitely schlocky. If you've seen some of my shorts, like I showed you like some of the like the silly things in the movie. But if you're into that, you would enjoy this movie. I mean, like plants that grab you, and people who have like disfigured faces that come popping out at you. There's one scene where there's these animals that are all mutated and they're like in this zoo. They call it the zoo from hell. Yeah, I mean, if you're into that, like these B movies, then you'll enjoy Die Monster Die. The next one was The Amazing Transparent Man. So here is poster for it. I actually really like that poster. And then there's another one that's red. Now, basically, this is a mix between a gangster movie and The Invisible Man. So they bust this guy out of prison so that, he can rob banks. He's totally not necessary because as soon as they turn him invisible, like, why do they need somebody who can... It just doesn't make sense. It's like they don't use him for the reason that they really got him for. And then the special effects are so cheesy. So this was done by Edward G. Ulmer, and he's kind of infamous for the B movies. And this movie, along with another one, which I actually reviewed a couple months ago, where a rocket scientist flies into the future, and then is trying to get back. I reviewed it. I forget what the name of it was, but they were made and they were played at drive-ins as a double feature, which that's pretty interesting, right? So it's not very long. It's like 65 minutes. The special effects are so cheesy when he becomes invisible, and then he starts, like in the middle of one bank robbing scene, he starts coming back visible. And the way it happens, like he's popping in and out, and like the bag of money is like floating in the air. It's like something out of a bad Bewitched episode. But then again, there's also the violence with the gangsters, smacking women around, and people hitting each other and over the head with guns, and being tough guys and grabbing each other. It was like this movie didn't know what genre it was in. But for 65 minutes and Edward G. Ulmer, I'm going to say I had a lot of fun with this movie. Silly fun. Die Monster Die, The Amazing Okay, the last one is one that I don't want to say a bad thing about, because this is the movie I saw as a kid. So this is called Voyage into Space. And basically, it's Johnny Sacco and his giant robot. Now, I do not know why this movie is called Voyage into Space. It has nothing to do with anyone going on a space travel. Yes, an alien comes from another planet. Yes, at the end, Johnny Sacco robot flies off into outer space to kill the enemy. That's all it has to do with space. Why is this called Voyage into Space? I will never know. Plus, that's a really bad poster. This one is much better. So it's Voyage into Space, and you can see it's also Johnny Sacco and his flying robot. So basically, this movie was 4 episodes that were edited together to make an hour-and-a-half movie, and you can totally tell each episode like where one begins and one ends. But anyways, fun stuff. Now, this is a great poster for it. So it's got all of the monsters that he's got to fight in there. He fights the eye monster. He fights this giant like minefield monster. He fights this plant monster. I um, Unless that's Draculon, that doesn't look like him though. There's also a sea monster. There's also one with like these weird like necklacey things hanging from his hair. It's like, and he looks like a dog, and I don't know. But Johnny Sacco, to me, I saw this as a kid, and it actually, I remember crying, like when Johnny's saying, "Don't go, don't die," and the robot is sacrificing himself. So to me, this is like a heartfelt movie. I love this movie, but man, is it bad. I mean, it's for kids, right? But I did read one thing about this. This movie is for kids in Japan, right? But in the United States, this has so much violence. Like there's one scene where they target Johnny Sacco and they shoot him with a rifle in the back of the head and he falls down, and there's all like a lot of violence in this movie that isn't acceptable for American audiences, but is acceptable for Japanese audiences, which is kind of, weird culturally, right? That it's not acceptable here, that certain acts of violence, but there are way other things that the kids can see that are acceptable. So it's just strange. Yeah, Johnny Sacco. And I went ahead and like I said, I made 3 shorts out of this one because I like this movie so much. But yeah, it's so cheesy. It's everything that you'd want in like a really bad dubbed Japanese movie for children. It's got it all. Like people in these ridiculous costumes fighting each other. They're supposed to be giant, but you can tell that they're just people inside of like rubber costumes. You got like the really bad special effects. You could totally see where the screen is cut. But who cares? It's like so much fun to watch these things. And the funniest thing that I didn't remember is the gleeful joy of the villains when they think they've killed somebody. They smile and they give these like evil leering grins. It's so over the top, but it's so much fun. Oh my gosh, it's already 27 minutes. So I haven't even done my race rant, and I haven't shown my comics. So I don't know if you want to stick around for that, but okay, I'm going to tell you about my race rant. So, Transformers, Rise of the Beasts. I enjoyed it. I really liked it. Now, everybody knows the Transformers movies have always had, a white hero, like Shia LaBeouf, however you say his name. Excuse me, or Mark Wahlberg, and then the women in the movie have always been these curvy, busty women, right? Like all sexy. So they went away from that. So they have 2 leads in the movie, and there's a Latin guy who is the male lead, and he's a really good actor. I remember him, I think, from In the Heights, and he was really good singing, dancing. So they're actually not using him to the best of his abilities because he can sing and dance. And then there was a woman, African American, and she just looks like a normal person. I'm not saying that to put her down. I mean, she's not like this curvy, busty, model. She looks like a normal woman. And she does a great job. She's very good, and they're good together. And it's not all about them falling in love and rolling all over each other. That's not what it's about. They did a really good job, and I appreciate seeing diversity in the movies. I'm so happy that they're doing that, right? But with a caveat. Now, I know this is a popcorn summer action movie, but at the end of the movie, it hit me. I remember seeing 4 white people in the movie, 4 in the role, like in roles that were important. And there are 3 that I'm going to talk about, and then there's one that I'm going to talk about that's kind of different. The first one. Okay, so the lead Latin guy, his brother is sick and he needs to get him money. It's a typical trope. But it's him and his brother against the world, and they have this pact, and I mean, it's the trope. It's that trope. So he takes him to the hospital, and they won't see him because he hasn't paid his bills. And so there's a white administrator, and she comes out, and she's the one who has to, tell him that he can't leave, that he can't stay. He's got to take the brother away, and no matter what. So he's like saying, oh, but he's just a child. But the white person has to do blah, 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 blah. No biggie. I mean, someone's got to tell him that. Next, the African-American woman is introduced, and she's smart. She's like really intelligent. And her boss is the museum administrator, and she's an idiot. And she doesn't know her own job. And she has to ask the assistant for everything. And then she takes the credit for it. She never acknowledges her assistant, and she treats her like crap. Second white person, an idiot who treats everyone like dog shit under her. The third one. So when the male lead goes to a job, he's trying to get a security job. There's a white guy there, and the white guy tells him, oh, we got a call from your other company, and we found out what you did and how you abandoned your post. And so he's the one that has to put him down, and he says things like, so we don't need your kind here. I mean, seriously. I know in this day and age, you don't say something like that. We don't need your kind. Now, what he meant was we don't need people who are lazy or who won't fulfill their jobs. But that was definitely a racial trigger. And the white guy had to say it. So then the Latin guy has to go on a rant saying, what do you mean you don't like my kind here and all this? It went really racial, right? And so, but, that was the third white person in this movie. So no one in this movie, white, is shown as being kind or not. They're always in a role to hold the minority person down and keep them down, right? And so the fourth one comes at the very end of the movie. Now, he's a G.I. Joe operative, and he's from other movies. So I guess the reason why they had him is because he will harken back to the G.I. Joe movies, and I think they're going to make a franchise joining. And so they used him because he's recognizable from the other movies, right? So a white guy. But he comes off as the white savior, because the first thing he does is, oh, we've swept in, and we're going to pay all your brother's medical bills and da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so I thought we're not supposed to portray people like this anymore as the white savior, right? This is not a good thing to do in movies. So 4 white people in the movie. And my rant is, obviously, in past movies, we've done these things. Minority has certain roles, and, they were fighting to try to get out of these roles. But it seems instead of making it better, we just flipped it. Right? And there's so many instances where white people are just seen as oppressors and jerks, right? And so there was my little rant. Now, I know, like, I could get in a lot of trouble, right? White people aren't supposed to talk up about these things, but I'm sorry, I'm seeing this. Like, in a silly action movie, I've seen how everything's flipped. And instead of getting better, it's basically just changed. And instead of one race, being accepted and, helped up, and another one holding it down, all they did was flip the roles. So I don't know what you think about that. I would love to hear your comments, and if you think I'm totally wrong, please let me know. Okay, and it's already 34 minutes. I read these. I think I'm going to have to make this really short. So I read all of these graphic novels. They've been sitting on my shelves. I only have 4 more. Now, they're in 2 categories. When I first started collecting comics again, I saw this Valiant line, and I remember Valiant line from when I was young, and I wanted to give them a try. So I read these 2. Not only that, but also the art. And they've on the back, you can, on almost every one of these, they're raving about them. So I went ahead and read Faith, and I really enjoyed it. Nothing new, it's about a Los Angeles, cult in the movies. Okay, but it was actually a really fun read, and the art is great. Then I read Bloodshot Salvation, and again, I really like this, and I went ahead and ordered the second part. There's only 2, and I would recommend this. This was a lot of fun. And then the other set that I have is this Dark Metals universe that the DC line put out after the Dark Metals. Now, I didn't really like the Dark Metals run myself in the main line, but I was fascinated because they took a lot of really top-tier writers and artists, and they put them on these books. So, for example, this is Damage. So he's basically like a cross between Captain America and Hulk. He's a super soldier that he can only hulk up like this for an hour at a time, and he breaks loose and he wants to get away from the the government that is controlling him. I mean, this is Tony S. Daniel, and he's one of the top writers for DC in many of their runs. This was a lot of fun, and basically it would be every issue would have some kind of guest star, and it would keep the action going. So it had Suicide Squad, it had Wonder Woman, it had Swamp Thing. It just kept the action going, and the art was fun. So I highly recommend those. And then I read both volumes of Brimstone. There might be one more, I'm not sure. So this is basically about someone who makes a pact with the devil to get powers to help his town, but it's really to destroy the town, and it's about a cult. And instead of it being the devil, it's actually one of the forces from the Dark Knight's world, and they're trying to create a bridge into ours to take it over. And so the art in this was really good. It had its ups and downs, but I really did enjoy the art, and even though the story could be hokey, it kept me going. Next, we have this Sideways. And this one was Roquefort. I don't really know that person, but I was digging the art. The art is like really kind of quirky and different. And this is about a kid who wakes up after this dark metal thing, and he has these powers where he can make portals, right, to move from place to place. And but they have some like weird effects, and even though it's very derivative, like a lot of people have had these powers, video games have used this, etc., etc. It's always and even the movie Jump, what was that called? Jumper. I really like that movie. It's fun because they don't hesitate in killing people. Like one time when he jumps, an evil person, like the villain, grabs onto him, and as he jumps through, it closes and it like slices off the person's arm, and the person is back where he was, and the arm is just there. I mean, it does some kind of fun things with this, so I enjoyed that one. And then John Romita Jr., Silencer. So this is about a hit person that tried to get out, but is drawn back in. She already has a family, so she's trying to protect her family and give them what they want, and get over on them. And even though like halfway through this, John Romita Jr. stopped drawing it, the person who took over was fine too, but he continued to do all the covers. A lot of people have a big problem with John Romita Jr.'s art. I really, really like his art. I think it's just weird. It's out there. It's fun. So I don't mind his art. I actually really like it. And this was a pretty intriguing read. I went ahead and ordered the second one. So there you have it. What I've listened to, what I've watched, a race rant, and I flew through some of these. Now, if you want to see any of these, like the insides, please let me know in the comments, and I'd be more than happy to do that. 40 minutes, yikes. I want to thank you for, all the support that you give me. And I just want to say, everybody have a great weekend.